success martial arts students, and welcome to another training video here. So, working on some of our boxing basics in this video. So, primarily we are focused on our boxing stance. So, not a very long video, but just want to take a moment to break down and how the boxing stance that we use in all of our combinations, including a lot of our taekwondo combinations, work. So starting out, just kind of at our attention, what we're going for is being able to do our boxing stance on both sides. So way we train it in boxing, if you're a right-handed fighter, then you would normally keep your right hand behind you. Or if you were a left-handed fighter, you would put the left hand behind you. So again, in boxing, when you put your right hand behind you, this is the way most people will stand when they're in a boxing match. So this is the orthodox stance, or the regular stance. And then if you switch, if you're a left-handed fighter and you're over here, that in the boxing world is called a southpaw fighter, right? So when we do this in our style, we train both sides, whereas typically if you were in a traditional boxing gym, you would literally only train your boxing stance on one side, and your entire career would just be that one-sided stance. But we are more of a martial arts-based system, so we like to train both sides to be as ambidextrous as possible so that we can use both hands equally well. So with that, we always like to start out with the orthodox stance, do a couple of techniques and things that way, and then we will then switch to the southpaw stance and go from there. So the way our stance works, again, the basics, is I want to take my right leg, and all I want to do is take about a little bit of a step back. So my feet should be about a shoulder width apart. So from there, I want to turn my toes so they're facing a little bit to, not perfectly to the side, and I don't want them straight forwards towards my opponent, but I want them to be on this diagonal line. So once I've turned my stance there, now my backhand, in this case my right hand, is going to come up like I'm holding a telephone to my ear. And then my left hand, or my front hand, is going to be like I'm talking into a microphone. And one thing I want you to notice is that my hand is directly in between me and you. So if you and I were opponents, I would want to keep my hand right there in front of us. So if you get anywhere near me, I can fire my jab pretty quickly and have a nice straight line attack on my opponent. That also is going to make my defense a little easier, because you can't just punch straight in at me because my hand's already there to block. So you're going to have to work going around that hand and do more of a circular technique, which allows me to be able to block and defend your attacks a little bit easier. So I keep that hand in between me and my opponent, and then this hand is up, protecting kind of the vital areas of my face. And then from there, we don't want to be just straight-legged with our knees locked and our heels flat on the ground. I'm not very mobile in this position. So what I want to do is bend my knees a little bit, and I want to bring my heels off the ground. So I'm on the balls of my feet, and in this position now, even if I'm not moving, I have my toes, my weight on my toes, I have my knees bent, so I can be able to move pretty quickly, pretty easily when I need to. So again, going through that stance, we take that right leg, we're going to just step it back, we turn our toes a little bit onto that diagonal there, we bring up that telephone, we bring up that microphone position, I'm going to bend those knees a little, get my toes, my weight on my toes, and then I'm here. That's my stance, and then from there we start working on our ability to bounce and our ability to move. So from there we go to the same thing, but now as the southpaw stance. So this one, if I'm standing feet together, this time I'm going to step back with my left foot, turn my toes now to this diagonal. Now this hand is my back hand, my left hand, so that becomes the telephone hand. The new front hand, which is my right hand, becomes the microphone hand. Again, right in between me and the opponent. I'm gonna bend those knees, I get my weight on my toes, and from there, now I'm ready to move. I'm ready to bounce, right? Working on my movement, and I'm ready to come back in with my strikes. So, from there, if I'm in this position, when I switch my feet, I always want to switch as fast as I possibly can, because one of the most vulnerable places to be is standing with my feet next to each other, because right now, you have a whole lot of area to punch me in my stomach and my head. So if I'm in this stance and I want to switch to the other side, we do what we call a jump change. So what I'm going to do is switch those feet nice and fast, boom, with a quick motion. So now I'm right away back in that other side stance, and there wasn't a whole lot of time for you to hit me in the big target. So I'm not going really slow, right? But everything is a nice fast little switch, right? So every time I switch those feet, it's a quick switch, makes it very hard to be attacked by my opponent. So those are the basics of our boxing stance. Again, there is more details that we can get into with that and the footwork, but just a quick little video breaking down the stance. So thanks for training, and we'll see you in the next one.